Hello and welcome to the news at 10 on NTA News 24. We're live in Abuja. I am Dennis Adegunloye. Let's begin with the headlines. President Bola Tinubu signs Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2026 into law, pledges to protect rights of electorate. The 2026 budget defense continues at National Assembly. And gas leak kills miners in Plateau State. Let's begin in Plateau State, where at least 37 miners have reportedly died after being exposed to a toxic gas while working at an underground mining site in Zurak-Wase local government area of the state. Ndonyang and Abuja reports.
The incident occurred in the early hours of Tuesday as the miners were engaged in mining when a dangerous gas was emitted in the poorly ventilated tunnels. Eyewitnesses say the miners inhaled the gas while on the ground. About 25 miners who survived the exposure have been taken to a nearby health facility where they are currently receiving medical attention. Confirming the incident, the chairman of Wase local government area, Hamisu Anani, described the incident as tragic, especially as it occurred during the holy month of Ramadan, when many Muslims are observing the Ramadan fast. He said the mining site has been secured to prevent further casualties and to enable investigators determine the exact cause of the gas leak. He also appealed to the state and federal governments to come to the aid of the victims and their families. Meanwhile, member representing Wase State constituency, Ibrahim Galadima, said efforts are ongoing to support the victims while investigations into the incident continues. Some of the victims have been buried according to Islamic rite. Ndonyang and Abuja, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, has ordered the closure of areas covered by mining license 11810 in Wase local government area of Plateau State following the death of villagers allegedly mining in a pit containing gaseous emissions. In a statement by the media advisor to the minister, Segun Tomori, Alake has dispatched a team of officials and investigators led by the permanent secretary, Yusuf Iyabo, to probe the remote and immediate causes of the incident and recommend sanctions. In a condolence call to Governor Caleb Mutfwang, Alake sympathized with him and the bereaved families. And the Plateau State Police Command says it is investigating the tragic incidents in Wase local government area where 37 people died and 26 were hospitalized due to gas inhalation from a mining site. Statements by the command's public relations officer, Alfred Alabo, says sudden discharge of toxic gases like lead, oxide, sulfur and carbon monoxide is the likely cause. He emphasized that the area had been cordoned off and rescue operations are ongoing, saying samples have been collected for analysis and an EOD unit is assessing the scene. He therefore warns residents to avoid illegal mining activities. The Commissioner of Police has deployed additional forces to prevent future incidents and urges citizens to report suspicious activities. And joining us via Zoom from Jos is the Plateau State Police Command Public Relations Officer, Alfred Alabo, to give us an update on the situation. Hello and thanks for joining us on the news at 10. Can you give us the updates on the gas leak? What further information has been garnered with regards to the incident? All right, we'll try and connect with him subsequently. Let's now turn to some legislative matters. President Bola Tinubu has signed the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2026 into law. The short ceremony took place at the State House on Wednesday evening. State House correspondent Musbah Damrahab reports.
After months of attention at the House of the People and lately the consideration of people's concerns, the leadership of the National Assembly are here with the final amendment of Electoral Act 2022. The presidential approval was needed to validate the applicability. The demand by concerned parties for clarity on the inclusion of electronic transmission of results from polling units to INEC result viewing portals, IREV, delayed the conclusion of the amendments. But in the end, President Tinubu expressed satisfaction that the will of the people prevails.
What is crucial is the fact that you manage the process to the extent there will be no confusion, no disenfranchisement of Nigerians, and that we are all going to see democracy flourish. It is time that we have confidence in our system. No matter how good a system is, it's managed by the people, promoted by the people, and the result is finalized by the people.
The president believes the final outcome of the amendment will enhance transparency and people's confidence in the nation's electoral process.
And we need to avoid glitches. I'm glad you did. Interference, unnecessary hacking in this age of, computer inquisitiveness. Nigeria will be there. We will flourish. We will continue to nurture this democracy for the fulfillment of our dream for prosperity and stability of our country.
President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, highlights key changes of electoral law.
We have never had electronic transmission of results in any of our laws. We never even recognized the IREF in the 2022 Act. All those things are now there. And at the end of the day, more powers are given to political parties, that they should decide who their candidates are. And above all, participatory democracy, more inclusiveness. Members of different political parties are now allowed to do direct primaries. That means you can choose the person you want. Delegate selection, of course, one person can write the list and then just submit. But this time around, the members who are in the political party will stand up and vote for their candidates and the candidates of their choices.
The number of days notice, which was earlier in the 2022 Act, 360 days, now we have seen the wisdom to reduce it to 300 days. And this will inadvertently translate to holding the presidential and National Assembly elections in January 2027. And that will technically avoid conducting election during month of Ramadan of 2027.
Godswill Akpabio says the National Assembly did due diligence to ensure that this outcome will enhance the credibility of elections in the country.
We took cognizance of the peculiarities of the country. We did not allow too much outside interference, and we're very patriotic in our submissions. And at the end, we believe strongly that what the President has just assented into Act of Parliament will make for a better election in the future and will also lead to prosperity and will also lead to transparency of the electoral process. At the end, Nigerians will benefit a lot from future elections. Every vote will now count.
The final amendment to the Electoral Act 2022 makes it the fourth amendment to the Nigerian electoral law and now a curtain raiser to the 2027 general elections. From the State House, Musbah Damrahab, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has issued an executive order to safeguard and enhance oil and gas revenues for the Federation, curb wasteful spending, eliminate duplicative structures in the critical sector of the national economy, and redirect resources for the benefit of Nigerians. The president signed the executive order in pursuance of Section 5 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. The order is anchored on Section 44, subsection 3 of the Constitution, which vests ownership, control and derivative rights in all minerals, mineral oils and natural gas in, under and upon any land in Nigeria, including its territorial waters and exclusive economic zone in the government of the Federation. The directive seeks to restore the constitutional revenue entitlements of the federal, state and local governments, which were removed in 2021 by the Petroleum Industry Act, PIA. The PIA created structural and legal channels through which substantial federation revenues are lost through deductions, sundry charges and fees. And President Bola Tinubu and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz have agreed to strengthen bilateral relations, focusing on security, power and railway development. A statement by the President's Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, says the two leaders, during a telephone conversation, agreed on a wide range of issues, which include Siemens assisting Nigeria's Presidential Power Initiative, with Deutsche Bank financing the project. On security, used helicopters will be supplied for intelligence reconnaissance in the Sahel region, and collaboration on skills developments and establishments of the Great Museum of African Arts. The two leaders were equally elated by 65 years of diplomatic ties between the two countries, with Germany earnestly waiting for Nigeria's new ambassador. And elsewhere, President Bola Tinubu has called on Nigerians to embrace unity, peace and moral renewal as Lent and fasting in the holy month of Ramadan begin, urging citizens of all faiths to support efforts towards national stability. President Tinubu spoke at the opening of this year's tafsir at the State House Mosque. The president noted that the simultaneous commencement of fasting by the two faiths is a reminder of shared values, of sacrifice and importance of unity. He said fasting should go beyond abstinence from food and drink, stressing the need for kindness, forgiveness, good deeds and love for humanity.
May Allah continue to be with us, Amen. Guide our country, Amen. Defeat terrorism in our nation, Amen. Defeat all acts of banditry in this country. Amen. For us as Muslims, we need to continue to have that spirit of goodwill and commitment to nation building for not only for the next 30 days, but beyond that. Fasting is required for us to get closer to God Almighty and pray hard for those who are in need. Pray for our country. God will give us the answers to our problems. May all of us see the end of this Ramadan and see many more to come.
This is the news at 10 on NTA News 24. Stay with us. More reports after this break. You're welcome back. Now, following the sighting of the new moon, Ramadan, the 9th month of the Islamic lunar calendar, has commenced as a sacred time for Muslims worldwide to fast, pray, reflect, draw closer to Allah and purify their hearts and souls. Tokwe Alabi in this report takes a look at the significance the first 10 days of Ramadan hold as Muslims explore the benefits of the blessed days ahead.
The first 10 days of Ramadan are known as the Days of Mercy, otherwise known as Rahmah, representing the opening phrase of the holy month focused on seeking Allah's compassion and blessings. It is a period of spiritual reset to cultivate gratitude, strengthen spiritual discipline, serving as a transition into the fasting routine, aiming to soften the heart and prepare the soul for the days ahead.
There is a popular hadith that says, "Awwaluhu rahma, wastuhu maghfirah, wa akhiru itqun min nari rabbina." That is, the first 10 days is full of mercy. In the month of Ramadan, one must take it very, very seriously. You recite the glorious Quran, perform nawafil, especially Tarawih that comes once in a year. All these acts are what a Muslim will do if he or she is very serious in earning the mercies of Allah that are embedded in the first 10 days of Ramadan.
Amid the verses of fasting is to show that fasting is a period of acceptance of prayers, acceptance of supplications. So we have to use this Ramadan to pray for the well-being of our country, to pray for the peace in our country.
So for us in this nation, it's also a time for reflection, it's a time for prayer for the nation, it's a time when prayers are answered.
Believers focus on building a stronger connection with Allah through increased prayer and reading the Quran to strengthen their faith with acts of kindness by fostering compassion, charity, and empathy towards the less fortunate.
Islam is of the view that if the haves, if they consider the have-nots, we discover that it will be a better place for us to live in.
We are specifically supposed to now add to our prayers, to our reading of the Holy Quran, we have to do a lot of charity now.
Muslims often recite specific prayers seeking mercy.
Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum bi rahmatika astaghith.
Rabbi ighfir warham wa anta khayrur rahimin.
The first 10 days is recognized as a time when Allah's mercy is abundant, setting the stage for more rigorous phases of forgiveness and salvation. Tokwe Alabi, NTA News.
Let's head to the National Assembly now, where the Joint Committee on Interior has expressed displeasure over the non-release of capital funds allocated to the Federal Ministry of Interior, describing the developments as a major setback to project execution and institutional performance. Details with National Assembly correspondent Mitaire Ikmen.
Minister of Interior Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo told lawmakers that lack of capital budget releases in 2024 and 2025 affected execution of crucial projects across agencies in the ministry despite National Assembly approvals. He assured lawmakers of the ministry's financial prudence and remittance of internally generated revenue.
In 2025, we generated 7,8,159,983 naira 50 kobo, and all this has been fully remitted to government. For capital, the performance is zero.
And if it is still 0-0, as of now, or latest miracle, this budget cycle will end in the next 6 weeks.
The paucity of funds also affects justice sector reforms, as the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, tells the House Committee on Justice. He says the ministry's 23.6 billion naira budget proposal for 2026 is to deepen ongoing justice sector reforms.
Objectives and initiatives outlined in the National Policy on Justice 2024 and the Ministry's Strategic Plan 2023-2027, which is one of the vital priority areas under the present 8 priority focus areas of the Renewed Hope Agenda.
Strategic funding, ensuring allocations are sufficient, reinforce the pillars of justice, and ensure that the Ministry of Justice is fully equipped to serve the nation.
Agencies under the Office of the National Security Advisor that appeared before the House Committee on National Security and Intelligence requested more funding to boost intelligence gathering and upgrade training capacities for personnel.
This committee is therefore making its passionate appeal to our dear President to please look into the funding of the agencies of the intelligence sector.
The committee called for stronger collaboration with Parliament to achieve national security objectives. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
In the meantime, the Office of the National Security Advisor says the delay in the release of its capital allocation has affected some of its operations. Despite this, it insists that efforts to safeguard the country remain on course. Permanent Secretary, Special Services Office of the National Security Advisor, Mohammed Sanusi Danjuma, made this known during the 2026 budget scrutiny. Ignatius Nkwo reports.
The permanent secretary appeared before the Senate Committee on National Security and Intelligence to defend the office's 2026 proposal. Before the session moved behind closed doors, he highlighted some of the challenges confronting Nigeria's intelligence community. The permanent secretary reaffirmed that the Office of the National Security Advisor will remain committed to strengthening the fight against terrorism and other emerging threats across the country.
Adequate funding shall be provided through supplementary budget to the intelligence community to ensure timely and speedy response of issues of national security.
Members of the committee stressed the need for sustained funding and legislative backing for the intelligence community.
It is imperative, therefore, that we provide the intelligence community the necessary resources to safeguard the nation.
Only the security community that keeps the time here. All of our colleagues who left these chambers to go and be ministers, when you invite them, they come in 2-3 hours and tell you they are calling the villa.
The National Assembly Joint Committee on Federal Road Maintenance Agency also scrutinized the 229.7 billion 2026 budget of FEMA. Minister of State for Works said proposed projects in the 2026 budget cuts across all states.
With your approval, we can unlock our full technical capacity, accelerate critical road interventions across all regions.
Insurgents in my senatorial district take advantage of potholes along the roads and plant improvised explosive devices.
The Senate is willing to grant full legislative support to FEMA. We are prepared to provide the necessary fiscal and legal frameworks.
Meanwhile, the Military Pensions Board appeared before the Senate Committee on Defense to defend its 2026 budget estimates. Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
In other news, as climate change continues to reshape cities and threaten public health across Africa, experts are warning that urgent action is needed to prevent a surge in infectious diseases. This formed the focus of the first distinguished lecture of the Federal University of Health Sciences, Ilaorogun, Osun State. Kayode Oladoshu reports.
It was a historic moment at the Federal University of Health Sciences, Ilaorogun, Osun State, as academics, professionals, and dignitaries gathered for the institution's first distinguished lecture. In the lecture titled Climate Change, Cities and Infections, the Triple Nexus Shaping Urban Health Futures in Africa, the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Lagos, Professor Folashade Ogunshola, revealed that the worsening impact of climate change is now affecting the foundation of human health and well-being.
We must integrate climate and health policies using our One Health approach. In other words, recognizing that the health of human beings is closely linked to its environment and to the health of animals.
Professor Ogunshola called on relevant government agencies to address poorly planned urban growth, inadequate sanitation, and weak health infrastructure, noting that tackling these challenges would significantly mitigate the effect of climate change on public health and the environment.
I want to plead with all of us to see ourselves as advocates for planetary health. We must reverse this climate change. I'm not sure we can, but we can slow it down.
The Vice-Chancellor of the institution, Professor Hakeem Lasisi, and other scholars described the lecture as a defining moment for the university, reaffirming its commitment to research focused on solving real-world health challenges.
The topic that we have chosen, I presume, will offer ample opportunities to the collective effort to address not only the academic rhetorics, but to activate dormant souls.
It was agreed that integrating climate science into public health planning remains one of the most critical steps towards combating infectious diseases and safeguarding Africa's urban health future. From Ilaorogun, Kayode Oladoshu, NTA News.
And that report concludes the news at 10 on NTA News 24. Thanks for watching. I am Dennis Adigunloye. We'll have an update at the top of the hour.
Our wildlife could be another great industry if we protect it for future generations.
Right now, it's threatened by illegal wildlife trade. So please, report wildlife crime and say no to illegal bushmeat.